Good morning. This is Angela with a cup of tea on Monday, July 4th, 2011. Today's topic is a wonderful topic, of course, because it's all perfect, but it is also very serendipitous and it works very well with the fact that it's Independence Day in the United States. So we've talked about to date a bunch of things, talking about connecting in, outside, and within, the ability of us creating our own realities, the power of our thoughts and words, all that kind of stuff. Going with the flow, letting go of control, but at the same time being in control. It's very fun if you think of it, but it's just all about this balance, right? So today's topic has to do with, in the natural progression of things, today's topic has to do with freeing ourselves from our own limitations. And that's a huge step, and I can talk about this for hours on end because there's so many facets to it. So I am trusting that the words will come to me absolutely perfectly. Excuse me. But what kept on coming into my mind when I was getting the download for all this was the quote, "What would you do if you knew you cannot fail?" And truly, and this isn't just a saying, but take it to heart and meditate on it someday. Say to yourself, what would I do if I knew I cannot fail? Would I fly? Would I transfigure myself into an eagle or a dolphin? I mean, really, yeah, it sounds a little crazy and you might be laughing at me, but in essence, many of the things we have done have been to limit ourselves as part of this experience and this existence. And so a lot of people come to me and they say, well, I would love to do this, but now this is really funny because this came to me this tied in very nicely to me like just a couple of takes ago because I've gone through several takes this morning. I had a conversation with a friend of mine not even a week ago, and without giving you the details of the rest of the conversation, my friend was talking about the negation that the word but creates. And it's true. Once you really think about it, I would love to do this, but I would love to do this, or I would love to be here, but I would have done this, but all is but is we have become a but society now. I could just hear people laugh at hearing this because, yeah, of the way it would sound. But we really have, and it's not something that's happened overnight. It's something we've done over thousands and thousands of years. So if we really take into account and say, okay, I take full responsibility for my reality, then all of the limitations and all the buts that we have put around us are the limitations that we've imposed upon ourselves. So, there's also other quotes out there, like that we're not afraid of what we cannot do, but we're actually afraid of how much we can or how powerful we actually are. That's part of it too, because we have pounded into ourselves in many, many ways and many things that surround us that we are limited, and we really are not. We've created our reality, and now we can change it. Now we're remembering that we can change it. So when people say to me, well, so-and-so limits me. So my job, my religion, my family, my whatever limits me. Anything that limits you is there to limit you. And your choice is to continue to let it limit you or to free yourself of what's binding you and keeping you from getting to be your highest and best self. Now, it's a long path to that because we have spent a long time unlearning all of the divinity that's within us and putting it outside of us in many respects. So our job now, as we're coming into, I guess, what we would call Earth 2.0, is, if you want to get to the video game kind of version, or I'm sorry, the software kind of version, it'll be level 2 in the video game, but is we're at this point where we're ready to reconsider. We're ready to stop doing the buts, and we're ready to start saying, okay, so this doesn't serve me anymore, so now it's going to just go away. And it's as easy as that. And how painful or unpainful, non-painful it is, if that's a word, is how we decide to treat that. One of the things when I went out to, and I've quoted this many times in my discussions here on the webcast, when I went out to New Mexico in May and saw Keisha Crowther, who they call Little Grandmother, one of the things she said I thought was one of the most phenomenal quotes that I have heard, because it so rang the bells of truth. It was just awesome. And that was, she's talking about how people ask her all the time about the walls tumbling down and how things are just crumbling around us, whatever. And she had gotten this quote, I believe, from her mentor. And she had said, and this person had said, remember that the walls that are tumbling down around us are the ones that have kept us in prison. I love that. It is so just perfect, and it is so true. I have that discussion a lot of times. I have so many people who are afraid, and they want change, but they're afraid. They're afraid of what's going to happen. And one of the things that I learned in learning one of the healing modalities that I know, theta healing, is it's one of the things that you do when you're working with somebody is you dig. And so you keep on asking, well, what if? And what if? What if that happened? And then what would you do? And what if you did know? And all this kind of stuff. It is perfect in that respect, because when it comes down to it, all you're asking when you're saying what if it did happen is realizing what your fears are. And if that fear happens, then what would happen then? What would be the result? And really, is it that bad? Because if we all get back to the universe's love, that we are eternal beings, that we're all, part of the divinity, then what is there really to be afraid of? So the limitations that we create are those that we create ourselves. And it comes down to fear. And and the fears have to do with what we're afraid is going to happen. Because then we project out the negative things, the buts, by having these anxieties and by allowing these limitations to continue around us. Now, I'm not saying it's an overnight thing. For many of us, it takes a long, long time. I am continuously clearing stuff, and I know people who've been doing this work for 20 years plus, and they're still doing clearings themselves. Now, some people, and we're coming through a very accelerated period of time where everybody's sort of letting those walls tumble away. Now, the other thing that I have heard from elsewhere, and I thought this was a great analogy or thing that ties in, is to let go of that which doesn't serve us. Because it's going to happen now, because we're going through this period, this quick evolutionary period in a spiritual sense and an energetic sense, to let go of that which doesn't serve us. And there's so much in our lives that we've held on to because it's in our comfort zone, it's in our box, that we don't even realize that it's what we have decided to accept as the ultimate of our reality. But it doesn't really serve us. Or it might have served us at one point, but because it became a habit and it became part of our box and we wouldn't want to let it go. So there's so much of that going on. And the message here is that it's going to fall away whether we want it to or not, because we're ready. We're ready as an entire collective existence. We're ready to go to Earth 2.0. Or we're getting ready to go to Earth 2.0. And so we do have to let go of that which doesn't serve us, because we created all this stuff that was part of the game. It was part of the existence, of the experience of doing this, is to get past this and to get over the challenge and get over the hump and exceed that expectation, and beat that challenge. So the message here is that we need to just let go of the box. And I think I've said that before in my other webcasts, but it is time to just say, we have no box. We are just free form, and we are floating with the current. And the sooner we can do that, the better. Now, like I said, the reality is, as things change or whatever, and we've decided collectively that this was where we wanted to be at this point in time in existence, it can be as terrifying and it can be as anxiety-ridden as you can imagine, or it can be with the most grace and ease that you can imagine as well. We have our own personal power over what happens to us, and it happens around us as we go through this experience. So, watching the walls tumble down around us and realizing that they were those which imprisoned us, and also letting go of that which does not serve us willingly, and saying, let's look at things in a really pragmatic point of view and say, it's time to get rid of this. It's time to clean house. How many times have you just gone through this period in your house of, I need to get rid of everything, or I need to get rid of all the stuff that's just hanging around, it's not serving me anymore, I have no use for it. How much of that baggage do we have emotionally and in our lives? And if we've ever stepped back and said, okay, what is it that I am comfortable with, but it really doesn't do anything for me? It doesn't help me. It actually hinders me a little bit. It takes up some of my time that doesn't need to take up because I have all this other stuff going on. So think about that. That's really important. I am going to cut off here because it is actually 11 minutes. Again, like I said, I could talk about this for hours. But your homework right now and what to think about today on Independence Day in the United States is, how can I free myself? How can I further free myself? What in my life does not serve me that I can release? And how can I do it with the most grace and ease? So with that, I'm going to go. Have a great day. We'll see you Thursday. This is Angela with a Cup of Tea.